Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there.
So I was telling Cindy that this one MMA fighter, Sugar Sean O'Malley, tweeted that he thinks he just saw an alien invasion taking place. And here you see out of Sputnik, Starlink satellites launch sparks fears of alien invasion on U.S. West Coast. So says the media. Yep, this week's SpaceX launch puts the total number of Starlink satellites orbiting Earth at over 1,000. Over 1,000 up there now, and we know he's got plans for tens of thousands. Will we see the stars themselves anymore in the future? Or are we just going to be looking at Elon's handiwork?
I know, it makes me so sad to think that, we're never really going to look up and see what was always naturally there for us. We're going to see an overlay of somebody else's handiwork, if you want to call it that, or disruption. I want to call it that.
A recent SpaceX launch has apparently caused quite a commotion in LA. When the rocket's payload reached orbit, became visible to those on the ground. According to TMZ, the ensuing spectacle, which appears as a string of lights moving across the sky in unison, left many onlookers in LA puzzled and somewhat uncertain about what exactly they were witnessing. As the media outlets pointed out, however, the objects spotted in the sky were no UFOs, but rather the result of a Falcon 9 rocket delivering some 60 Starlink satellites in orbit earlier this week, with the total number of these satellites circling our planet now exceeding 1,000. And there's video in there. I'll give you guys the links as always. They were still in low orbit, still clustered together, so it's like a Starlink train. What are they really doing up there? It's one of the questions I would put out.
I know, they say that's for our benefit or for our advancement, but I just don't see it.
I don't believe it, plain and simple. And this is something that you may not believe. You guys know Wernher von Braun? Does that name sound familiar? NASA fame? Yes, German scientist Wernher von Braun predicted in 1952 that a person named Elon, now, how many people have the name Elon? I don't know a whole bunch of Elons. I don't know any Elon but that one known as Elon Musk. Well, in 1952, it was predicted that a person named Elon would colonize Mars. What do you make of this?
I don't know. What do you think about that? That's pretty interesting that would come up.
Yeah, so we see Project Mars, a technical tale by Dr. Wernher von Braun of NASA fame, who, by the way, had an interesting history pre-NASA. Well, he may have predicted the future, or at least the part about who may eventually help colonize Mars.
Exactly. Or I don't know, are they going off of what he said and trying to bring these things into fruition?
Well, I think there's a much bigger story going on. So yeah, that's right. In one passage from the book, von Braun states that a Martian government was created, led by 10 men, whose leader was elected by universal suffrage for 5 years under the name or title of Elon. Isn't that crazy? But, how about Baron Trump's little adventures.
Yeah, Baron Trump's underground adventures and
all that. Remember that book that came out? We were talking about that like crazy the last 4 years. And that came out of the blue. I don't remember ever seeing this book either. Are we talking about Mandela effect? Is it something that's being inserted into our history? Or was it really, really there? Is it a plant? Do we have time traveling ability here?
Well,
certain people, perhaps?
I think so. I think they have access to it and they have the know-how and the knowledge. So, why not?
Oh, yeah. So Wernher von Braun then goes on to say that the two houses in Parliament enacted laws that would be administered by both the Elon, that sounds like a title, and his cabinet, with the upper house being referred to as the Council of Elders and merely named about 60 people, each of whom was named for life by the Elon himself as vacancies in the event of death. And yes, even Elon Musk responded to the passage when somebody tweeted it to him. This is just so interesting, as you see here. Destiny, destiny, destiny. No escaping that for me. That's an Elon Musk tweet. Toby Lee said, speaking about destiny, did you know that von Braun's 1953 book, Project Mars, referred to a person named Elon that would bring humans to Mars? Pretty nuts. Is it just a coinky-dink?
There's just too many quinky dinks. There's just way too many.
Yeah, coincidence? Manufactured? Prophetic? Well, we need to look a little bit deeper too, and we've talked about many times von Braun and a lot of what happened before and after World War II. As you see this out of the sun. And there's a picture of von Braun right there. Yes, he was German born. And a picture of Mars. But he was brought over as part of this controversial top secret U.S. intelligence program, Operation Paperclip. And probably at least half of you guys must be familiar with this, if not more. I would expect. So, as Germany was collapsing, I didn't really say the Nazis there, because the Nazis went on and still have gone on, in fact. But Germany was collapsing, Italy, Japan, and so the rush was going to be on for scavenging resources. And General Patton, who was a very famous general, he had said, well, we might as well just keep fighting because we know we're going to end up fighting the Russians next. And they did scramble to see who could get the best brains, the most brightest scientists, because Germany had the best technology. Their technology was way ahead of Russia's, ahead of the United States and England as well. And so who could get the best minds? Well, Operation Paperclip did that and took in some of the top scientists from what was, the Fourth Reich. And Werner von Braun was one of them. And, he ended up being at the top of NASA. Yeah, I mean, here is somebody that was in the Fourth Reich that ends up heading our space program. Says a lot, does it not? It really does say a lot. And by the way, that whole idea of a fake alien invasion, as far as I could tell, he's the first one that talked about it. So this is somebody that was, if not actively involved, and definitely under the control of the Nazis. And he was, again, one of their top minds, and developed rockets that eventually put people up into space. And every now and then we get somebody that is just mind-blowing, says something like, well, there is no space, or the Earth is flat. But there's a lot of planets out there, guys. There's a lot of civilizations out there. As we said before, if you look to the Puranas, the Hindu holy books, the Puranas, they talk about hundreds of thousands of humanoid species. And they've been interacting with us all along. It's just that it's been under the covers because they want to create the illusion that there's nothing but humans here. Humans are running the show themselves. So this is all just fascinating because, again, this Werner von Braun, as far as I could tell, he's the first one that actually talked about on his supposed deathbed that there was always boogeymen. Maybe he wanted to come clean, some say. Or maybe it's part of another psyop. He just talks about how there would always be boogeymen. He kind of foreshadowed 9/11 happening after, we had this Cold War. We would end up having a war on terror. And then eventually, we would be faced with an asteroid threat, which we could see a lot of activity up in the skies, and then an alien invasion itself. But he also said it wouldn't be an alien invasion. So was he coming clean? This person that talked about Elon running the show and heading the project to colonize Mars back in 1952 in a book? Or is it part of the programming? Is it all part of the bigger programming going on? As we look at Nazi psychics and aliens, the story of the Vril with Maria Orsich. And again, this is one of Robert Sefer Atlantean Gardens. You could tell this is one of the things that he loves to talk about the most. And he's been delving a little bit more into Qigong lately, talking about the life force and all, which, as I shared with you, Qigong is what really changed my life around totally. And I was fascinated by it since I was a teenager, really. But the understanding here, they understood an awful lot about energy, about the life force, about how the universe works, of course, technology as well. And, the bottom line is that there were these beings working with the Nazis that were not Homo sapiens sapiens from Earth. We call them ETs, also interdimensional beings. Some very, very Nordic Pleiadian looking. And as we've said before, many times we feel that, at least I could speak for myself, I've always felt that they're going to roll out and show what they're going to say is the good guys, but they're going to be the bad guys and vice versa. So, if I hear that somebody that was a top Nazi scientist giving a deathbed confession of the plans that are laid out ahead, I don't trust them. How could you possibly trust them? How could you possibly trust them? Of course, they might make good guys looking to come and help appear as bad guys in an alien invasion and vice versa. So this is just fascinating stuff. I'll have all the links here for you guys. Talks about 10-foot tall giant kings, inner earth. It all ties together. There's a reason why there's the gods that are in the ocean, the gods that are in the earth, as Cindy is nodding her head, and the gods that are up in the sky. And we've also talked about Operation High Jump, which basically was, it was a mission to go down there and kick some Nazi butt down there. When we say down there, we mean Antarctica. And the reverse happened. So, Admiral Byrd went down there and lost planes and lost ships because they couldn't handle the saucer technology that the Nazis had developed, given to them by these beings that are not really Homo sapiens sapiens. And then we ended up getting the Battle of Los Angeles and the flyover of DC. And of course, we had Paperclip, Operation Paperclip. So I think this all put together gives us a lot of clues what's really going on here.
I know, and what's really going on is, and we'll keep pointing it out again and again because that's our purpose, is the beings running this planet are not who we think they are. They're not even, it's just, it's so incredible how you start looking at things, and when you just start waking up and you look around and you realize how screwed up things are, and then you can see it clearly. You can see it so clearly, but then you look around at your friends and they're like, they're still on board with the same old, same old. So I don't know, guys. It's just pretty crazy. Hopefully we can, with all of us together, we can keep putting more pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah, it's like I'll have a friend blurt out something about being so frustrated because so and so's in charge or this party's in charge, and again, it's like there's a much bigger picture going on. Everything we see is nothing but just, well, you could view it that everybody we see, they have strings attached.
Yep.
They are, they are being manipulated and controlled by the beings that you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, yes, there are humans that we don't see that are higher up on the totem pole than the ones we do see. But then there's also non-human entities that control all the human entities that look like they're in control on Earth, but they're not. And this has been going on for millennia, and we don't really know exactly how far it goes back. If you go and you look into books and really interesting anomalous objects, like forbidden archaeology brings up, you see that there's metal spheres here that are millions of years old. There's people that have been mining for probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years in certain locations around the planet. I forget what that one channel was that did a fabulous expose, like 3 hours long, on mining operations all around the globe that you could see. It's ancient. And that channel had millions of views, millions, and like several 100,000 subscribers. But then all of a sudden, all of its videos were getting like 300 views, 200 views. Oh, that's telling.
Mm-hmm.
That says it all right there. And, Cindy and I have seen evidence of mining operations out in the West that are ancient. You could tell they're ancient. These are not new, where nobody's been. And we do have some photos that we'll dig up from a couple of years ago that we discovered weird stuff like pylons and pylon imprints perfectly round and pressing down into rock that's very old. It's just weird stuff to share with you guys. So I asked Cindy about Elon, and we've asked the guides before. We asked the Galactics about him. Is Elon Homo sapiens sapiens? Is he human? And the answer was,
well, he's a little bit. He's not very much. The answer came back as like 80% of him is not really human. It's different. It's a different species. Human enough just so he can attain the looks and the identity and the mannerisms to fit in with everybody else. And I don't think he's the only one. I think there's more. It's just that he's going to be the one that maybe we'll discover first. I think that's how that's going to work. I think, that's what it feels like.
that he might be one of the first that is openly admitted that he's not from here,
Right.
so to speak.
Yep.
Interesting. Do you get anything about like what faction he's a part of? I mean, you do get that he is still definitely under, reptilian Draco control.
Well, as far as, him colonizing Mars, that's what the feel that I get. It's like, Martian energy. So
Is he perhaps Ijiji, what we would call Ijiji, or portion?
there's portions in there because of his abilities and his insight and his ability to see out into the future. So yeah, he has that in him.
Very interesting. I wonder at what point in time we'll discover this, and I wonder how long it'll be before all this comes clean.
I'm feeling, probably less than 2 years because things are moving along so fast. People are waking up at, faster and faster and faster. So what they like to do, I notice they like to come out up front with their version of the story before we find out on our own, because it's inevitable we're going to find out. So they always give us a version of their story.
Right. Because they always want us to give them, our acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Give them our power, basically, so to speak, and to buy their side of the story. That's why, I know some people have said there'll never be disclosure. There might never be a true disclosure, right, but there'll be a disclosure. It'll be a disclosure with a twist, just like Cindy said, giving them their side of the story. Because ultimately, when you look at it, and I've brought this up a million times, they always portray, good, what is really benevolent beings, good guys, as bad guys. And so if ultimately this Satan that runs the show on this planet is, under the power ultimately of this AI dragon type of energy, archonic type of energy, and then it works through the Draco, works through the reptilians, works through the hybrids, the Anunnaki, the Gigi, down to the group that starts with an I, ends with an I. Then obviously, we're getting their story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything that they're giving us, everything that is out there and is in the majority, like we bring up the Abrahamic traditions, is like 59.6% of the population of the earth follows the Abrahamic traditions. Well, that's by far the most biggest segment of the population thinks that way.
Mm-hmm.
And even those that say I don't follow it anymore, I'm really agnostic, or even if they're atheist, or if they've changed and all of a sudden now they're Buddhist or what have you, it's still imprinted in their minds because they've grown up hearing it. Divine retribution, original sin, all the guilt, all the shame, all the negativity. You deserve everlasting hellfire. And you would be in hell forever. Which we've had communications with beings on the other side. I've had encounters since I was 5 that I could remember. With ghosts and spirits, and Cindy, it's every single day with her. I mean, she has no problem. She's one of those people, because of past life work, that can just interact with deceased people. So we know that's not the case. The case that, like, I grew up hearing what my parents grew up hearing, that was given to us through the Catholic Church, growing up Catholic, and purgatory and all that. I mean, you could view purgatory as people that get stuck in the in-between, of which there are souls that get stuck in the in-between. But it's not like that at all. And I also have friends that have been clinically dead for stretches of time, documented. What did they uncover? And what did they experience? An amazing feeling of loving acceptance and overwhelming relief, and also a desire not really to come back here, but they were told they still had work to do. So, that whole notion of, that fear-based control system is just that. It's a fear-based control system. Look who's telling us it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that extends into, the fundamentalist mindset of all the Abrahamic traditions, which, there's the mystery traditions, which have taught something different. They say the same thing that we see in many other Eastern traditions, that, the real God source is in everything. It's in everything in creation. And that, again, we are ultimately consciousness, and there is an underlining oneness, unity. We are co-creators, but that co-creative power is being given away in many instances because of being conditioned into a mindset that is far less than what we have as far as our real capabilities and abilities, especially as we head out of a dark age and head back into a golden age. Because as we've shared in the Vedic tradition, it's thought that in a golden age, humans can attain a divine state of being, and really can be as the angels themselves. And we even get the legends of Metatron and Sandalphon, and of these beings, Enoch and Elijah, that actually become archangels. There are those legends in the esoteric traditions. So again, it's all about uncovering that control system. And going back to the original question, do they even have control over being able to change timelines? I think we could change timelines.
Mm-hmm.
Are they inserting stuff into the past that was not there before? I think the technology is there. I go to search because I want to do an updated version of a video, and some of the foundational material is no longer there. I can't find it anywhere. I'll even sometimes be able to go back to my old links, and they're all dead. There's nothing there anymore. So history is being wiped every moment as we speak, and a new history is being written every moment as we speak.
All right. And, you know, if we can, at a certain level, notice the throat chakras are really getting affected here. Sorry, you guys.
They don't like us talking about
No, they don't.
the
But
illusions.
if we, at this level, know that we can change timelines, imagine them who haven't been hampered and their education hasn't been stifled. Of course, they're changing timelines, you know, because they can. And if you move forward in life knowing that things just are not what you're being shown, that really helps open up your mind. It helps, actually, it puts me at ease a little bit, just knowing that things are not as I'm told. It's like, oh, thank goodness, because I thought there was something wrong with me. Well, guess what? There's nothing wrong with any of us, you guys. We're just waking up.
Exactly. You know, and they revised history all along. When we found sponges and shells and stuff on our property north of Vegas, I knew, you know, this area was underwater maybe 400 or 500 years ago. It wasn't millions like they'll tell us or anything like that. You know, so they're constantly rewriting history, constantly taking things away, constantly adding things in. And when we're aware of that, then everything changes.
Yep.
Question everything.
Yep.
So make sure you guys are subscribed. Click the bell on both channels. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Thanks for your patience with us getting you in as far as Vedic charts and energy work consultations. You can reach us at EEARTS at Proton Mail or evolutionaryenergyarts at gmail.com, and check out our website, evolutionaryenergyarts.com. As always, guys, keep your eyes open, your mind open, and be prepared. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.